Hi, this is Assad again, and I'm gonna pick up where I left off yesterday. So going back to my simulator, I think that where we left off was there was an issue with the header view inside of my iOS app. Two problems actually. One is that there is no padding for the label, and the second is that inside of our debug navigator, we were seeing that the frame for the header wasn't expanding, excuse me, to fit the size of the label. Sorry. So I can show you what I mean. So I'm going to run the app again. And go to my debug navigator. And if I scroll down and go to my header view, and if I inspect the constraints, I'll notice that the width of the header view is 0, but I expect it to be not 0, some value greater than that, which is equal to the width of the label. So if I select the header view, I don't see any background box for it. What I was kind of having a look at yesterday was some of or like a article in the developer forums, which mentioned that I saw this function called preferred layout attributes fitting, which I was saying that might be that might work, but I stopped here because I wasn't exactly sure how this worked. So I kind of had a look at the documentation yesterday. I didn't exactly read through it very well, so just do that now. So preferred layout attributes fitting gives the cell a chance to modify the attributes provided by the layout object. The attributes provided by the layout object, these attributes represent the values that the layout intends to apply to the cell. So this kind of sounds like it might work because it provides the layout that formats kind of the way the cell appears on the screen. So the discussion says the default implementation of this method adjusts the size values to accommodate changes made by a self-sizing cell. Subclasses can override this method and use it to adjust other layout attributes too. If you override this method and want the cell size adjustments, call super first and make your own modifications to the returned attributes. So the first thing I think I need to figure out is when does this method get called? So this is this person is trying to call this method when they invalidate the collection view layout in iOS 13. Yeah, there's not really an answer here. So I need to keep looking. I'll just add this here. So I don't think I'm having an issue with actually calling this method. I just need to know like kind of where it fits in the life cycle of how the header view is rendered with the compositional layout. I don't think I will probably find something about this, but yeah, this is the article that I was looking for. So this kind of gives us a general overview of what happens when we're using a view controller that we're creating using a storyboard. So it says UIKit gives you several opportunities to configure your view controller and views before displaying them on screen. When you instantiate your view controller from the storyboard, UIKit creates the object using its initcoder method. So UIKit first loads the corresponding views, which it does using the following sequence of steps. Creates each view using the view's initcoder method. Connects views to the corresponding actions and outlets in the view controller. Calls the wake from net method of each view in the view controller. Assigns the view hierarchy to the view controller's view property. Calls the view controller's view develop method. So this might not really apply to what I'm doing right now because I'm actually instantiating a header view programmatically rather than doing it in storyboard. So I'm not really going to worry too much about when this method gets called. I'm just going to try to override it inside of my subclass of collection reusable view, which I'm using as the header view in this case. Right, so okay, so let's kind of dig into the types we have here. So let's start with the UI collection view layout attributes. So right here it says a layout object that manages the layout related attributes for a given item in a collection view. Layout objects create instances of this class and has to do so by the collection view. In turn, the collection view uses the layout information to position cells and supplementary views inside its bounds. The collection view uses the layout information to position cells and supplementary views inside its bounds. Okay. Use this class as is. If you want to supplement the base layout attributes with custom layout attributes, you can subclass and define whatever properties you want to store the additional layout data. Because layout attribute objects may be copied by the collection view, make sure your subclass conforms to the NS copying protocol. Right, so it says there's something about an apply method, instance method. Yeah, so frame size, height, system layout, frame size. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . So since I'm modifying the attribute of height, why don't I try just taking this recommendation? Right, and then see what this does. So my height, wait, let me check what this says. Okay. Okay, so now I can see that the width, like I can see at least that there's a box for the header view. If I check the constraints, the width appears to be not 0, which is what we had before. Now it's 203, and it looks to me that it's actually sizing now correctly. So this looks like it's a good solution for the problem of the header view not resizing. And just as a reminder, the header's width is estimated 0. I could set this to any value, even make it like, let's say 50, the height 50, and rerun. Yeah, so when I check the header view's width, that's 203, which isn't 50, it's more than that. And the height is 26, which is less than 50, which is really good. This is what we're looking for. We just wanted the header to kind of self-size correctly according to the size of the label, which is title. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it at that for the self-sizing. Looks good. Yeah, so I was saying that the other problem is that there's no offset here. So we need to fix that. So I'm gonna go to documentation for this class. There's nothing here that really says we can modify the padding. I'm just thinking if there's anything I can do with the offset. No, okay, so I'm gonna look at the section instead. Right, so let's just wrap this one up first. With regarding the preferred layout attributes fitting. Managing layout changes. So this here says the final attributes to apply to the cell. So I'm guessing this kind of like happens towards the end of the life cycle during which the header view is rendered. I just wish I could kind of see like exactly when this method is called, but should I try one more time? So this guy is saying that if we rely on proportional constraints for a reusable view and it's not trivial to calculate the size yourself, you need to get a little more creative. One approach is to replace proportional constraints with constant constraints the first time preferred layout attributes fitting is called. So it sounds like it's called multiple times. Yeah. Yep. So there's nothing really like about when this gets called. Yeah, one thing we could do is like try to do kind of a backtrace, but I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe I'll try doing it in some other video because that's going to take time. So I'm just going to, wrap this up, close this tab. This was good. Like this, I'm happy with this. I'm going to try to give it a thumbs up. Okay, moving on. So I think we were going to have a look at the section. This one. Yeah, I don't see anything here either. Right, so I think before I had something like maybe this. Trying to think. Okay, back to Google. So this says we can add content in sets around the items or groups frame. Read this. It should be here. So it says section content and sets, and it's directional edge and sets top, leading, bottom, trailing. So maybe we can create this, add like content and sets to the top, and then adjust the offset, the Y offset of the header, so we can get it kind of centered in the top of the section, which is what we want. So I'll try doing a section. Okay. Top leading, bottom trailing. I wish that Xcode would actually fill these in using the predictive code, but it doesn't. Right, so I'm gonna try a value of 24. And I think I mentioned that I wanted the absolute offset to change. Yeah, this is going to depend on the height of the label itself, which if we are using dynamic type, which we want to use, the height of the label is going to change according to the size of the text that the person chose on their device. So I can't exactly specify what the absolute offset of my header should be. So let me just try to add the content inset first and then see what that looks like and then figure out where to go from there. Yeah, so I'm in the debug navigator again. So the header view is aligned to the top of the section. So there's probably 24 points of spacing here. So maybe if I go back to my view controller. Maybe if I apply 24, maybe that will center it. I'm not sure. Nope. Oh, I see what's going on. So the absolute offset actually, because I set it to negative, it's pushing away the header further away from the section group. So what happens if I just set that to 24? Okay, so this is kind of defines the distance from the frame of the header view to the frame of the group. Which is not what we want. So I'm gonna set this to 0. So I wish there was some kind of center. Top leading center, maybe. But there is none, so. Okay, so then maybe if I adjust it to just leading and put this back. No. I mean, you would at least expect the layout to kind of put this somewhere above the group. And when I say group, I'm just referring to the group which I set up in my compositional layout, which is this. There's no actual frame for the group here. Yeah, this is just one collection view frame with a header. So I'm gonna keep this the way it was before, which is top leading. So now this looks like it has been pushed up. There's kind of a gap here between the header and the first cell. I don't exactly know what the size of the gap is because I can't really tell from my screen. Yep. So this is kind of the view that we're working with at the moment. Right, so our objective is to kind of center the header, or actually to add some padding between the header and the cell frame, and between the header and the top of the collection view. That's our goal. And I'm not sure how to do that. So we need to dig a bit more. So this would be a useful kind of trick for a compositional layout using a list configuration, but that's not what we have here. So this isn't gonna apply. So maybe I can use this. So I'm just kind of curious what the distinction is when you see a get with a variable. Let me just Google that. So I kind of like this comment here. Just remember that you use get and set to update any variable the way you want it to be updated. Get set will give you better control to rule your logic. But the way that it's being presented in this code example is get is returning another variable in the class. So we have a computed property. Is that right? X. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a computed property, but we have a variable x with a get return another variable from the class, set new val. Okay. Updating underscore x with the input value by the user. So my question was, if we don't see a set here, just as get, what does this imply? So yeah, so I haven't really figured out what this means when we only see get for content size. Okay, back to the original problem, which is how do we add insets or padding to the header view? So one thing I noticed was that I'm adding this section content and sets. I was adding it twice. So I removed the code that I had here. I'm just gonna keep this one here. This still hasn't really solved the problem. Because when I set the content and set, because the header is aligned to the top leading, it's just gonna keep adding an inset between the bottom of the header and the top of the cell, collection view cell, which is fine, I guess, except that we want this header to be centered. But because this is top leading, I mean, I don't think there's a way we can possibly override that. The header's top is always going to be aligned to the top of the collection view. So yeah, I can't really think of a way to add padding to the top of the header while keeping it kind of above the collection view cell. Okay, I'm just gonna pause right now for a second and come back. Hello. So I think we were trying to figure out how to add padding to the top of the header view here, which I was saying that I had a top leading alignment set on the header, so couldn't really see a way that I could add padding to the top of the header view. So yeah, let me just pause again and I'll be right back. Hi. Okay, so I'm in Claude and I'm gonna try to use Claude to see if I can find a way to fix the header. Great, so it gives us 3 methods for which to add the padding to the header. So method 1 says that there's a content insets property on the header itself. Method 2, increase your height for the header. Okay. Method 3, custom header layout. Okay, so I'm gonna try the first approach, which is adding the content insets to the header itself. This doesn't look like it worked. I still see that the header is aligned to the top of the collection view. So this is kind of interesting. Maybe let me try removing this first. Let's see if that changed anything. Yeah, so the header is still kind of doesn't have any padding around it. So this says the value of this property is ignored for any axis that uses an estimated value for its dimension. For more information, see estimated. So maybe because I'm assigning an estimated height dimension of 50, then my like this content insets is getting ignored. So let me just see this. Maybe I can try this. No, so there's still no padding around the header. So maybe this value gets ignored as well. Okay, let me try this. So if I have my header, let's try fixed. So now I see that there's padding below the header but not above, which isn't what I want. So I'm gonna remove this. Maybe try another approach. So these other two methods suggest that we need to change the size of the header itself, which is something that I was trying to avoid from doing from the beginning, because the goal is I want to have the header just kind of resize according to the size of the label, which is what we have accomplished so far. You know, it took us a bit to get there. So we see that the header is resizing, which is great. I don't want to necessarily change the size of the header itself. Ideally, what we should be doing is changing the size maybe of the kind of area above the collection view cell. But like we said before, the header is going to remain aligned to the top of the collection view. So that's not really going to fix it. Okay, let me just try to see if I can add the header and storyboard. I'm just wondering how I can put this inside of my collection view. Maybe so it's not really clear to me where this reusable view like fits inside of the collection view. But what if I assign this to my emotions and this? So let's say we have a label inside of the reusable view, and I'm gonna set a few constraints. Oh. Okay. So what if we try this now? So I added the label to the header view, which is a collection reusable view, which I assigned to be my emotions header view class. So now I want to create an outlet to my header view file. I'm gonna call it motions or just header label. Okay, and instead of this, or just gonna try right, so title text equals here. Okay, and if I go here, basically gonna need to try and remove this. And this. Oh. So this is saying found nil while implicitly unwrapping an optional value. I think it's maybe referring to the header label here, but I'm not sure why this is nil, since it should be, or since it should be initialized, since it's in the storyboard. Yeah. Yeah, this isn't gonna help. Keep getting error. So I removed the registration code from the view controller. So I'm not sure why this is like not finding a value for the label. So when I initialize the header view using the storyboard, it needs to call this initcoder method. Right, so if I remove this, okay, so the problem is with the header label. I think I might know what the reason is. So when I set the kind of header view, right, check and see, header view, where's my collection here? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Like there's no relationship between the header view and the collection view itself. which I did try to which I did try to connect to the collection view, but I can't exactly figure out how. I'm gonna delete that and try again. So I have a collection usable view. Let's check something else. Sorry. Okay, how to add a collection reusable view to a collection view in storyboard. Okay, so this does create a subclass of the collection reusable view. Which we already have. Okay, so what I'm missing here appears to be the identifier. So let's try to fix that. So I'll get the reusable view, put it here. Get the label here. How this right? So this says we need to add constraints. One. Okay. So I've already set the custom class of my header view to be the emotions header view. Now we need to add the IB outlet for the label. I'm going to delete the old outlet code and then so I'm hitting Control, drag from the label to my file, and I'm going to name it title label. Okay. So title label text. Okay. So I see that he's still like setting up the header and the data source. Okay, so he's not actually creating a registration for the header, he's just connecting it to the data source. And he's also adding a header to the layout. Which I'm not really sure why he's doing this, but I'll just have to go with it. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my emotions view controller. Probably need to undo and to get this back. And this. Go to my data source. I'm gonna just comment this out. So instead of this DQ, configure reusable supplementary. I think we need this. I think this is header element kind, and this is header ID. Oh, this is section header element kind. Okay, and going back to my configure layout. Okay, let me run this. So I'm still getting this error which says unexpectedly found nil while implicitly unwrapping an optional value. Let me just check his the way he's setting up the Google touch class, subclass. So he's not using any like initializers to initialize the header view. Okay, so got my header view. Yeah, so I'm not sure how this is going to read the identifier from this class to begin with. Right? Okay, this says I have 10% battery remaining, so I'll try to kind of wrap this up. So his setup looks a bit different. I mean, I see that his header view is nested inside of the collection view, whereas mine is kind of just like here. And yeah. Yeah, there's no way to kind of move it anywhere. Honestly, I'm not sure. Yeah. Let me just check something else. One should. Okay, I think so. I have a label not. So this is just saying that we have two initializers, the one with the frame which is a designated initializer, and the initCoder method, which is also a designated initializer. And the distinction is that if we're creating an instance of UI view, like programmatically, then we need to use the initFrame method. But since we're loading it from the storyboard, we need to, like, that's gonna call it. Or because the storyboard is creating the header, then that's gonna use the initCoder to initialize the method. Sorry, the view. But the problem is that when the initCoder is called, this outlet is appearing empty. IB outlet is nil when so this guy is saying that this at the time we call initCoder, it's too soon to speak of the view's outlets. He's saying the outlets are not set up yet when initCoder is called, and he arrived at this by testing. Printing function, self subview, overriding awake from nib, which kind of shows him that subview exists when you call awake from nib. I mean, he could be right, but I think I'm looking for sort of a more kind of like official documentation regarding this. So I'll go to adding custom views to view controller, UIKit storyboard. So this article is a good one that I keep referring back to. It's called Displaying and Managing Views with a View Controller. Since I'm working with storyboards, I'm constantly referring back to this one. Yeah, so this is referring to so this says that when you instantiate a view controller, UIKit reconnects outlets you configured in your storyboard. UIKit reestablishes these connections before calling your view controller's viewDidLoad method, so you can access the objects and those properties from that method. If you create any views programmatically, you must explicitly assign those views to the appropriate properties of your view controller. So when we instantiate a view controller from storyboard, UIKit creates the object using initcoder. Yeah, so this might need some more like investigation. So what I'm gonna do is go back to main. I'm just gonna remove this. I just need to expand these changes. I have the method here, which was right here. Basically this. Okay, I think this is basically the setup that I have. Yeah. So this says I need to, the content and sets will be ignored because we're using the estimated sizing. So I need to specify spacing. So then the app crashed, the reason being preferred size is 0 for my collection layout boundary supplementary item. Why is that? Try rerunning. Nope. Maybe if I disable this. Yep. So this is the right method we were using. So if I do title.frame.size, okay, I'm just gonna stop here because I'm running out of battery on my phone, which I'm using to record the audio. So I'm just gonna stop.